elementary and middle school, I didn't really think about that passion for animals. Like I just studied like a normal student would, and I didn't really put much mind into it. It was really only until when I got to high school, when I got to UCC, that I saw I saw a for hiring poster uh for my local zoo near my house, and I applied, did my interview, and I got in. So that was called Reptilia, and it was for a work that I've always wanted to do, which is just being a zookeeper. And Reptilia is actually Canada's largest zoo. And prior to this experience, I was basically like, I was like, reptiles are cool, sure, and snakes, they're pretty cool. But it was only at Reptilia where I was really blown away, and I really got to know these creatures on a deeper level, right? I still remember orientation day when like they brought out like by stages like different reptiles for us to like practice handling with. We started out with like turtles, like painted turtles, they're like this small, and then we worked our way from like bearded dragons to ball python, snakes, and they even brought out a tarantula at the end. And we all took turns like handling these reptiles. And you can see like photos here on the slide. Essentially, that's where I got to understand. Reptilia is where I got to understand and appreciate these reptile creatures on a much, much more deeper level. Obviously, there are like other reptiles at the zoo, like Komodo dragons and crocodiles, but I don't have my clearance for those yet. So, anyways, at Reptilia, I learned so much about these reptiles, like about their importance in our ecosystem, biodiversity, their ecological importance, and I was just surrounded by people who shared that same love every single week. Every time I would go into work, I was surrounded by a group of people who all loved and appreciated reptiles. And two, I was able to every week share my love for reptiles with everyone around me, whether that be the visitors and guests that are coming in that range from like sometimes there's like little children visiting the zoo that are like 2 years old to maybe like 60, 70, or even older adults, right? And I was able to share that love with each one of them. I'm able to chat with them about their experience with reptiles and share my experiences. And that was just a very, very impactful and transformative experience being working at Reptilia essentially. So you can see on the slide here, there's some pictures of me. You can see like on the top left and middle here, that's me. That's just me working at Reptilia. And then some pictures of me both at Harvard and at UCC, right? So that's really where I got my start in the reptile community. But then there's still actually one more stage between Reptilia, like UCC, and really getting to founding ReptileMap. And what that is on the next slide here. It's actually how I became a turtle trooper. So turtle trooper is like a program under the Turtle Guardians and Ontario Nature, which is like the overarching organization for the Toronto Region Conservation Authority, where I worked. And as a turtle trooper, essentially what I would do is, excuse me, every other week I would go to nearby wetlands near my home because I live in a pretty rural area. And every like Sunday morning, I would just take a brisk hike or walk and look for baby turtle hatchlings like the ones you see in the pictures here. So my role is essentially for data collection purposes, of course, I'm monitoring turtle nesting and just behavior in general, and I'm monitoring their nesting sites week after week. And when they do hatch, one of the most incredible parts of my work is that I get to really basically cradle these little hatchlings back to the water because a lot of them actually, without turtle troopers, aren't able to make it back to the wetland. So a lot of the time, like every Sunday, I would just go out and look for these turtle hatchlings, and then I would cradle them and I bring them across like a road, an intersection, and back into the water, like you can see in the pictures here. And that's real. That's such an incredible experience, in my opinion. You guys should all try. There's like Ontario and Toronto, where I live, is such a big place for like painted turtles, like snapping turtles. So actually, it's really perfect for me. And that was one of the another experience that I had with reptiles before the reptile map. And it was just like pretty part-time every week in the morning. I would just rotate to walk, and like I think my record is like I found like maybe 15, 20 of these turtle hatchlings in one day. And that was just because like one nest hatched and I was just there for it, which is super cool. And this connects to like the reptile map because just one day I was talking with my team leader. She's like a graduate from the University of Guelph in Ontario who studied animal sciences. And I was talking with her and I was like asking her about the goal of Turtle Trooper and like, why are we doing this? Why are we collecting all this data? And she told me that they were trying to build a very comprehensive database to track turtle population, turtle behavior for for environmental insights. And like actually there's actually a lot of benefits of these kind of citizen science projects because if citizens like around town can become aware of turtle behavior and like can track the location of turtle nesting sites, and they can be more mindful of their actions, obviously. A lot of them I've I learned through my work as a turtle trooper. I learned that a lot of them are actually just trampling nesting sites unintentionally, of course, and just construction and whatnot are all bulldozing turtle habitats. And it was just devastating. And that's one of the main duty responsibilities as a turtle trooper is just to protect these incredible creatures, right? So when I learned of this, I thought to myself, I like coding. I consider myself a pretty technical person. So I told my team leader, hey, I'll help you. Why don't I help you build this database? So that's how it all got started. I get to work, and keep in mind, like I'm also working at Reptilia at the same time here. So I talked with them, and I talked with Reptilia as well, and I learned that this lack of data, lack of centralized data, is not only an issue for turtles, but all reptiles in general. And it's pretty clear. It's like I could fathom a reason why, because most people, and even like conservation activists and organizations, they don't really deal with reptiles. They have no idea where reptiles even reside, even if it could be like these little turtle hatchlings, like right outside their home. And and that the reason is just because these turtles and there's reptile these turtles and all these other things, they're just all reptiles, right? And there's a big misconception around reptiles that they're dangerous, they're unearthly creatures, they're not like us humans, so we just tend to other them and like segregate them off as like as an underappreciated group. And it's a misconception for a reason, right? Because reptiles are nothing like that. They're such integral parts of our ecosystem. They're key players. Their ecological importance stems from their contributions to like our biodiversity. They're predators at high trophic levels. They're ecosystem buffers and indicators. Like the list just goes on and on and on. So that's where the reptile map was really got started. And you can see here on the side, this is the original reptile map mission statement. Really, of course, the end goal is just ensuring the well-being and conservation of reptiles, and we do this through data collection and geoanalysis. And our mission really boils down to simply empowering conservation efforts and raising awareness for the central population. So it all got started like by building the map, of course. And that involved mainly a lot of web scraping, geoanalysis. Like a lot of the people here you see today helped me out with that. So we mainly took data from a site called iNaturalist, which is like a free online platform and app where people like record and share observations of reptiles and all species, of course. And then scientists and experts come on and analyze and label those sightings. And it's great because there's like a location attached to every one of those sightings, and we're able to use GIS mapping to add that to our reptile map. And in that way, we were able to like compile all sorts of sightings from all around the world into the centralized map that we host on our website. So that's really how the reptile map got started. We ended off last year with scales and sustainability conference. where we spoke and we heard from amazing speakers, whether they are doctors, PhDs, researchers, just biologists, veterinarians. And it was a really meaningful experience where attendees from all around the world came to hear and learn more about this underappreciated group. Now, I want to end off really by saying that tools like Reptile Map make it simple for observation to really become evidence, and we're able to really start making these maps more than just public infrastructure. What I envision for the future is I want to inform public action, right? I want to inform signage around your town, seasonal like road slowdowns, and boardwalks over maybe fragile nesting sites. The work ahead is as much cultural as it is technical. I want to make open methods and honest metrics in order to shape the future and really turn reptiles into something that's globally recognized and appreciated all the same. So finally, that's really all for my talk here today. I want to open up the floor to one or two questions quickly.
That sounds great, Darwin. It looks like there's some questions in the chat. Do you want to answer a couple of those?
Yes. Uh, Do you plan to continue being involved with biodiversity at Harvard? Of course, I'm going to continue being involved, whether that be through clubs. There's a PBHA association here at Harvard, and I'm actively involved in just environmental restoration around the city of Cambridge. That's one thing. I'm interested in joining a lot of eco clubs here maybe next semester because PBHA is really the main thing that I'm working with right now. And I'm also part of like the clean energy group. So yes, that's definitely one thing. How did you find these opportunities such as turtle, troopers, and reptilia? Do you have any advice for high schoolers who also want to get involved? Um, it was all I could say was pretty just luck, honestly. I got Reptilia first, and that was just because I saw like for hiring ad poster. I forget where it was. I think it was like in person somewhere, and I was like, "Hey, I recognize Reptilia," because again, when I was young, I used to go there and to go to the Toronto Zoo, and I just loved the animals. So I was like, "They're looking for zookeepers. They're looking for educators. Why don't I just apply? Because I have time, and that would be an amazing experience. It's something I've always wanted to do." So I did apply. I did my interview, came in for orientation, and yeah, that's how I ended up working at Reptilia. I worked there for just under 2 years, I think. And Turtle Troopers was a similar thing where I've already been working at the TRCA, the Toronto Region Conservation Authority, as like a landscaper and like just a volunteer in my local garden circle. And I again saw a notice for this Turtle Guardians program. And I reached out to there was actually like a team, like a chapter where I live in Richmond Hill, and I reached out to the team leader, and that was how I got started in turtle trooping. So I'll quickly answer this last question. How does this database for turtles work? Essentially, it's just a centralized hub where sightings of turtles and nesting sites are tracked. So it's it's a it's a method where like if you go into like a town or something, you just see everywhere where there have been observed nesting sites and observed nesting behavior from turtles. So in the future, we want to connect that with like government regulations, and we want to make local citizens aware of these nesting sites. Right now, it takes a lot of initiative for them to open our website and really look at those locations, but it's super important for citizens to be aware of that, to stay mindful of these sites when they could literally just be right outside their home. Like I've seen a nesting site just in the lawn of somebody's home, and a lot of the times, because of a lack of awareness, people often trample over these sites and aren't careful around them, and a lot of the baby turtles actually don't make it to adulthood, and it's really sad. So that's one of the missions as a turtle trooper at what we did as a turtle trooper.
That sounds really interesting, Darwin. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day and coming and talking with us.
No worries.
Unfortunately, he has to go, but thanks so much for your talk.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Okay. So, that being said, let's go over more about the reptile map and our agenda for today.
Yes. So, but yes, thank you so much to Darwin for taking the time out of his day to be a part of this. We all worked with Darwin last year, and it was really great seeing how passionate he was, and he made us even more willing to do all our projects and work towards the reptile map. So, what is the reptile map? Really, the main purpose and the whole conference is to strengthen collaboration by bringing together people, science, and technology. What we do goes way beyond just documenting species. We're working to build a global system that helps us really understand biodiversity on a larger scale. Through our platform right now, for instance, we're constantly growing and adding new things like articles, research updates, and community features such as conservation events and nonprofit highlights from contributors really all around the world. So we're striving to make the Reptile Map more than just a website. It's becoming a living network of shared knowledge, community, and action. And the connection between environmental science and technology is becoming one of the most important parts of modern conservation. And it's what's helping us turn data into real-world solutions and make sure our efforts keep up with the challenges our planet is facing. The Reptile Map is proud to be part of this movement currently, and we're combining passion and innovation to hopefully shape a smarter, more connected future for biodiversity and conservation. Alyssa, back to you.
Okay, so moving on to our agenda. We already heard from Darwin, but next we're going to be hearing from Dr. Anthony Barley, who is an assistant professor in the School of Mathematical and Natural Sciences at ASU. Dr. Barley grew up in California and he received his Bachelor of Science degree in Biological Science from California State University in Sacramento. He also received a PhD in ecology and evolutionary biology from the University of Kansas in 2014. And after graduating, he went on to do postdoctoral research at the University of Hawaii, where he was awarded a postdoctoral fellowship from the Arnold and Mabel Beckman Foundation. He also worked as an assistant project scientist at the University of California, Davis, before joining the faculty at ASU in 2022. Dr. Barley studies the evolution and conservation of reptiles and amphibians in the southwestern United States, southeastern Asia, and Mexico. He's going to be discussing how digital mapping, iNaturalist, and genomic tools are transforming herpetology research. After that, we're going to hear from SiteTrack, which is a youth-led nonprofit using AI and citizen science to protect diversity, as well as document wildlife, map ecosystems, and drive like conservation impact across 150 countries. Last, we're going to be hosting a workshop with Mark Hull, with 2 decades of teaching experience, has guided students in AP computer science, coding competitions, and tech-driven sustainability projects. He's going to be running a workshop to build simple working citizen science applications using free softwares like Google and GitHub, as well as vibe coding and copy and paste. Just as a quick note, if you have any questions for our speakers, please put them in the question chat, and they're going to get to them either during their presentation or after. That being said,
So
yes,
I assume like Dr. Barty is in attendees and we need promote
I'll
him
promote
to
him to a
panelist. Yeah.
panelist.
So
Got that.
we see Dave Barty and Anthony like try to like Dr. Barty, if you are here, could you raise your hand? Like, oh, okay.
Right. Hey,
Yeah, I'm trying to like Dave Barty. I'm trying to promote. Oh, like Dave Barty just declined.
it says for me that he is a panelist at the moment.
Yeah, could you maybe email? Oh, I see that. I see like Dr. Barty here now. Yes, let's just promote.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hey, yes,
Yes,
we
yes,
can.
yeah,
Should I
yes,
join as a panelist or as an
yeah.
attendee?
You are being promoted. Just need to accept the. Yeah, yes, yeah, yes, great.
Oh.
Awesome. Hey,
Hey, how's it going?
good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Um,
Awesome. We're really excited to have you here with us today.
yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me. I think I don't get enough time in my work to talk to young people about reptiles and amphibians that aren't my nieces and nephews. So it's yeah, an exciting opportunity to talk to folks. Let's see. Right, so you can hear me, and then I should be able to share like that. And then, all right, can you see the slides okay and everything?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So we're all set then. Cool. So have you guys had a few different talks this morning so far?
Yeah, so we had like our founder Darwin, and then afterward we're gonna have like a couple more speakers.
Okay, cool. How many years have you done this?
Just two. This is our second year.
Okay, cool.
And by the way, if people have questions, they're gonna put them in the Q&A chat. And
Okay.
whenever you answer them, like whether you want to have it like during your presentation or after, I'm gonna mark them as answered.
Um, okay, yeah. I guess we can do it either way. It might be slightly easier just to hold them until the end, if that's okay. But if there's anything, yeah, I mean, I guess we can do it either way. Um,
Oh, you got it.
oh, all right, we're on YouTube, huh?
Yes, we are.
Nice.
Okay. Yeah, whenever you're ready, you can begin.
All right. Let's see. There we go. All right. So y'all can see and hear me well?
Yep, loud and clear.
All right, perfect. Well, yeah. Hi. Thanks. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. My name's Anthony Barley. I'm an assistant professor at Arizona State University. Today, Alyssa invited me to talk a little bit about how technological advances are transforming herpetology research, in particular, the research that I do as a scientist. So I'm going to talk about three different areas today. I'm going to talk about this in the context of digital mapping, about new genomic technologies, and then I'll finish by talking a little bit about my teaching at ASU and how that's been affected by some technological advances. So, one of the major motivating factors that underlies all the research I do as a scientist has been a fascination with the remarkable diversity of reptile and amphibian species that we share the planet with. So there's just a few pictures of me throughout my career. You can see back when I was younger, I had some less ideal style choices, but the picture with me at the giant steak was my first time I ever left the country when I went down to look for reptiles and amphibians in Mexico. The top left is a picture of me on my first trip to the Philippines as a graduate student, where I found Philippine flying lizards. So it was just a mind-blowing experience walking through the rainforest and seeing lizards gliding over your head from tree to tree. On the bottom left is a Mexican mole lizard, which is a species of lizard that only has front limbs. It lives underground. It's fossorial. Every day when I go outside and find horned lizards here in Arizona, where I'm a professor, I'm still blown away by them. This is a knob scale lizard, me and my first knob scale lizard. These are weird, wacky lizards that live in rock crevices, in outcrops in Central America. In Mexico, they have really low body temperatures. They live a very long time. They're super interesting. This is me looking like a crazy person when I found my first Bell's salamanders. These are, again, giant salamanders from Mexico that are jet black and they have these really pretty red chevrons on the back. And then this is a crazy looking Mexican burrowing toad. So these are just a few of the incredible species that I feel like I've been lucky enough to encounter during my time as a biologist. Um, but in addition to the truly remarkable and interesting species that we know about on planet Earth, it turns out that there's a huge amount of diversity that is still unknown to scientists. So, although we know a little bit more about reptiles and amphibians, if we think in the context of all species, probably only 10% of all species on Earth that exist have been documented by scientists. Much of that diversity is distributed in tropical areas, including in what we call biodiversity hotspots. So these regions of the world in red here, where a huge amount of species diversity exists. And so I'm going to share with you a couple of my field experiences from my work, where I've mostly worked in the Philippines, here in Southeast Asia, where we have one star, and then in Central America as well, both of which are biodiversity hotspots, where we're still learning a lot about new species of reptile and amphibian there. So, finding and describing new species of reptile and amphibian has been a major part of my career ever since I started as a graduate student. So on the top left here is the Philippine orange-spotted stream frog, a new species we described based on my first trip to the Philippines, where we were hiking in the mountains high up in the northern Philippines, and we came across this strikingly beautiful bright green frog with orange dots. You can see here. Here's the Isan fang frog, another species we described, which is a frog that actually has these large fang keratinous teeth in the front of his jaw that it uses to find prey and eat prey. And then the most of my work as a graduate student at the University of Kansas focused on learning about these sun skinks, which you can see pictured here. Here's 4 different new species of sun skink we found and described from the Philippines. Over the past decade or so, I've spent more time working in Central and South America. So here is a new species of knob-scaled lizard, one of those crazy looking rock crevice lizards I mentioned that we described. This is the Aguaruna marsupial frog from Peru, a species of frog that in which the eggs develop in a pouch on the back of the female, just like a marsupial. It's a species of frog, though. And then most of my work in the recent years has focused on studying whiptail lizards. So here's 4 different whiptail lizard species that we've described in recent years. So a lot of incredible diversity of reptiles and amphibians that we're still learning about on planet Earth. Documenting and describing new reptile species requires first that we learn about the discoveries of previous scientists, since I'm not the first person to work in many of these areas. So, like I mentioned, my graduate research was focused in the Philippines, which is an island nation in Southeast Asia. You can see it here on the map. It's an incredible area that has a lot of different types of habitats with rainforests and cloud forests and active volcanoes. But it also has a really interesting history of research in herpetology. So the first thing you learn about when you learn about the reptiles and amphibians of the Philippines was that one of the first biologists to study them was Edward Taylor, who's a really prolific herpetologist. He described over 150 species of reptiles and amphibians during his career. But he was also did some really interesting work as a covert CIA agent. So at the time during World War II, when he was actively working as a herpetologist, he was contracted by the CIA to gather intelligence information from different parts of Asia and Siberia. and even was responsible for training CIA agents in jungle survival in Sri Lanka. So, super interesting character who's also a really interesting herpetologist. And so when I went to the Philippines to start studying the sun skinks, some of these species had not been seen by scientists since Edward Taylor described them. And, historically, how we've gone about learning about what previous scientists have done is focused primarily on reading the papers they published or the books they wrote. But now that we have digital platforms like iNaturalist, where citizen scientists from anywhere in the world can post their observations, we actually have opportunities to plan our fieldwork around those observations that non-scientists who live in these areas have posted. So here's a couple species of sun skinks that you can find on iNaturalists that biologists posted that before I started working there and I went to go to these areas to collect and sample tissues of these species. Biologists hadn't seen them since Edward Taylor had seen them, but many of these areas have changed in 150 years. So this provides an opportunity for us to see, do these species still exist in the area we want to go visit and sample them? And it provides a really great opportunity for us to plan our fieldwork better. These are all the iNaturalist records from Mexico and Central America. You can see in red the iNaturalist records of whiptail lizards, I should say. And so on the left here is a picture of a whiptail lizard that I found an iNaturalist observation of that had never been before documented by scientists. So this is one of my, what I think of as the prettiest whiptail lizard that I've ever seen. You can see it's got these beautiful bright colors, but it's also got like a leopard print spotted pattern. Um, Beautiful species. So I was looking at the records that locals had found in Mexico on iNaturalist and came across this, and then planned some field work to go sample this species since it had not been documented by scientists before. This is the Mexican pygmy whiptail lizard that we went and sampled a couple years ago. This is a species that was described in the 60s, only occurs in one small valley in southern Mexico, that is heavily kind of changed by agriculture over the past several decades. And so, again, it was an opportunity for us to look on iNaturalist, see can we find these species in these areas, or have their habitats changed too much? And allows us to really plan field work, which is really great because this is really logistically complicated work to visit many of these places and sample their lizards. Another way in which I've been using iNaturalist data is to identify new species introductions. So I'm originally from California, so I have a particular fondness for the species there. But over the past few years, these are a couple iNaturalist observations that were posted. One's from Northern California and one's from Southern California. So California only has really two native species of whiptail lizards, neither of which is these. And so I came across these pictures, got in touch with citizen scientists about them, said, hey, you posted this observation of this whiptail lizard, but that kind of whiptail lizard actually doesn't live in California. And so we went there and worked with the citizen scientists and sampled the species, and we're currently working on using genomic data to try and understand where did these lizards get introduced from, since they're actually native to different parts of the southwestern US and northern Mexico. All right, so that's a little bit about how technological advances are transforming herpetology research, in particular the context of how we can use digital mapping to revisit historical localities, find new populations of species, and track species introductions. So next I'll talk a little bit about new genomic technologies. Um, so one of the really cool things that really rapid advances in genome sequencing over the past decade has allowed us to do is that we now can read thousands of DNA positions in the genome of virtually any animal at one time. So you can think about the process of DNA sequencing as analogous to putting together a puzzle. What we can do is read long, different segments of the genome, and then we need to try and figure out how those different pieces of the genome fit back together to understand how to use them. And essentially over the past decade, what genomic sequencing technologies have allowed us to do is go from trying to put together a puzzle that is millions of pieces to putting together a puzzle that's only thousands of pieces. So if you think about putting together those two different types of puzzles, it's a lot easier to think about putting together a 1,000-piece puzzle than a million-piece puzzle, right? And so this is really cool because it allows us to study the genomes of almost any animal on Earth. And so now we can go out and so these are some pictures of me in the field over the past decade or so working with a bunch of biologists. So all of the research that I do is in collaboration with scientists from different countries. So these are pictures of me and scientists who have helped us out in Mexico, as well as students. Um, and these are some pictures of some whiptail lizards that we've gone out and collected. So yeah, I should mention that all of this work is based on working with undergraduate and graduate students in different countries, and that's a really exciting, important part of my work. But now that we can sequence virtually the genome of any animal in the world, it means that we can uncover many of the secrets about their lives that we didn't know before. And so, as an example of this, one of the things that's always fascinated me is that among the about 60,000 species of animal on Earth that have a backbone, although most of them have males and females, there's actually about 50 or so species. These include fish, frogs, salamanders, and lizards, and even a snake, of which only female individuals exist. And these females are really remarkable because they reproduce themselves by laying eggs that don't need to be fertilized. So they lay eggs, and those eggs develop directly into fully functional adult lizards. And those lizards are clones of their mother. They're identical to their mother. So it's a really fascinating biological phenomenon. The largest group of those animals is the whiptail lizards that I've been studying that I mentioned. Here's a picture of one on the top left. So, using DNA sequencing technologies, what we've been doing is reconstructing the entirety of the family tree of these whiptail lizards. So, I won't show you all of them. This is basically what the family tree of whiptail lizards look like. There's about 50 or so species of these lizards. And this is really cool because it is a question that biologists have literally been trying to figure out for about 10, or excuse me, for over 100 years now. And we've only recently been able to resolve this question of how the different species are related to each other due to these advances in genomic technologies. And so here are 10 of those species of whiptail lizards. These are the really unique special ones I mentioned. These are the entirely female species. There are no males that reproduce by laying eggs that develop into clones of their mother. So they're remarkable species, and by having this information, we can learn about some really interesting aspects of their biology. So one of the things we've learned is that all of these female-only lizards are entirely formed by mating between different species. So as an example, this is a Eunice species with only female individuals from northern Mexico, and she was actually formed by a mating between a male Arizona whiptail and a female canyon spotted whiptail. So you can see how different these two lizards are just based on these pictures. But if that's not good enough for you, I sometimes like to equate this to what it would be like in primates. Essentially, these two lizards are so different from each other. They are as different from each other as a human is from a gibbon. So this species is essentially the equivalent of a human and a gibbon having a hybrid offspring that can then clone itself a bunch of times. Which is crazy, right? That sounds like a science fiction novel, but it is real biology, real lizards that occur here in the southwestern US where I live. Um, if that's not wacky enough for you, there's also an example of the Chihuahuan spotted whiptail lizard, which essentially is the equivalent of this human gibbon offspring back crossing and mating with a gorilla and then producing a hybrid offspring that can clone itself. So these are what AI art generators seem to think these hybrid animals would look like if they were if they existed, right? So this Chihuahuan spotted whiptail lizard that we have in the southwestern US essentially has three different sets of chromosomes, a set of chromosomes from a human, a set of chromosomes from the equivalent of a gibbon, and the equivalent of a gorilla. So I just find that amazing that in a single individual that that exists, right? Um, That's a little bit about how new genomic technologies are helping us resolve relationships in the reptile family tree of life and learn a lot about the remarkable diversity, incredible lifestyles of animals that live on this planet with us. So I'll finish by just mentioning briefly how technological advances have changed my teaching. Like I mentioned, I'm a professor at Arizona State University. I find myself to be very lucky because I get to teach a herpetology class at my university. And one of the things we do is we get to go out in the field, and I teach students all about the native species of reptile and amphibians that are here in Arizona. So here are me and a bunch of my students from field trips over the past several years. We've been able to visit some remarkable places and see some really neat species, including even a Gila monster. This is the first Gila monster I ever found in my life in the wild. And so it's a really exciting opportunity for students to be able to see these unique species of reptile and amphibian that live in Arizona. But when we're not out in the field, my students are learning about how we can use freely available online biodiversity databases to actually do their own research and learn about reptiles and amphibians. In my class, I teach students all about GenBank, this national repository where all scientists who sequence the DNA of reptiles and amphibians deposit their data, which can then be downloaded by anybody to study the genomes of the reptiles and amphibians that they're interested in. We learn about the Global Biodiversity Information Facility, which is a repository that aggregates information about all the records of any species of reptile and amphibian that scientists have collected and deposited in a natural history museum. So students can learn about where species exist on different parts of the earth and generate their own maps. Um, we learn about the reptile database, a really neat resource for learning about all the species of reptile amphibian that exist on Earth. We learn about Morphosource. This is a really neat, relatively recent online platform where students can download CT scan data, so basically digital X-rays of specimens, and then they can explore the anatomy of any species of reptile and amphibian for which data exists. So here's some pictures of a skull of a Sicilian or a really neat cordylid lizard from Africa. You can see that it has these really big scales. And so students can begin exploring the morphology of species. We learn about the freely available environmental data about environmental conditions virtually in any part of the world that students can then download and use to build models and ask questions about how they expect different species of reptiles and amphibians to be active and at what times of day and at what times of year using really open source and free statistical software. And there's all a bunch of online, really interesting online learning modules that I have my students learn and do to learn about different concepts that we cover in my class. Yeah, those are three different ways in which um, digital technologies have really changed how I go about doing my research. With that, I should say thank you to you all for having me, and thank you to, I should mention, all the biologists and students who have helped me in the field during my time as a researcher, including this guy right here. This is my nephew, Mikey. He is an excellent lizard catcher and has helped me out in the field a number of times. Thank you all. If there are any questions about anything if anything didn't make sense, I'm happy to chat a little more about that. Yeah, thank you all for having me.
Yeah, I think you have a couple questions in the Q&A.
All right. Stop sharing. Yeah, sorry, I couldn't, it was hard to track the chat while I was talking. Okay, what do we got? Do you work with other people when you do research? Yes. Actually, yeah, I work a lot. My work is entirely with other people. I don't do any of my research alone. Like I mentioned, some of my research in other countries involves working with scientists and professors at other universities who know a lot about the areas in which we want to work. And then it always also involves students too. So students, both undergraduate and graduate students, come out with us in the field, help us find animals, and they learn about sampling techniques that scientists use to find animals. Um, CC asks, I love reading about animals, but going out in the field sounds so exciting. What's the challenging part of studying reptiles outside in nature? Um, actually, probably the most challenging part is finding them. Because, I showed you all kinds of really cool pictures of reptiles and amphibians. But those are pictures from over 20 years of working as a field biologist. While in some cases you can almost certainly find lizards almost anytime you go outside when it's warm. Finding a lot of different species is actually challenging. So that's why the availability of these digital platforms like iNaturalist are really valuable for us because they allow us to look ahead of time and say, all right, well, where have people who live in these areas seen these animals before? What time of year? That way, if we're traveling thousands of miles to go to the Philippines to find these animals, we can have a good idea ahead of time of, all right, they might live here. There might still be habitats that exist that we can find them in. And so they are really valuable to allowing us to be successful in finding these new species. Um, Dr. Barley, do you have any recommendations or advice for high schoolers who are interested in getting involved in reptile research and outreach, and reptile research and conservation? Any places they could work out, reach out? Um, yeah, well, it really depends on where you live, I guess. Looking around for different organizations that might be looking for volunteers is always a good opportunity. Here I live in Phoenix. A few of the places that I know have students working there are there's a reptile sanctuary that exists here that even a student in my lab volunteers in. There's a zoo, so organizations like that are always good to look for. There's also state and federal agencies. So the Department of Game and Fish here in Arizona also does research on the native reptiles and amphibians. So reaching out to people who work in those agencies can be useful. And then, of course, if there's a university nearby, you can sometimes find professors who work on reptiles and amphibians too. So really any kind of organization that's interested in reptiles and amphibians, I'd typically encourage you to reach out to because usually people are excited to get students who are interested in helping out and learning. Anytime you kind of find a good contact, I'd encourage you to do it. People are more than happy to. What do you find the most fulfilling? What do you find most fulfilling in research? I'd say two things. One is learning about, like I mentioned, these species that we share the planet with that I think are incredibly neat, and learning new things about science. That's why I'm a scientist, is I love learning new things and learning things that we've generating new knowledge. And then also working with young people. I love working with students and taking them out in the field and helping them have this experience of learning about reptiles and amphibians, which was really transformative for me as a student. So I like helping young people. Um, what do you think will be the big thing you want to see happen in the field of herpetology? These two technologies are exciting. Are there any gaps remaining to be bridged will greatly increase our knowledge? Um, yeah, so much. I mean, I think we're still kind of just at the beginning of learning how these new genomic technologies are going to shape our understanding of the diversity of life on Earth. And so, I'm part of a consortium, and our goal is to sequence a genome for every single species that exists on Earth, which is a lofty goal. But that having that genetic information is going to allow us to do lots of different things. It'll allow us to learn a lot about the species that exist, but also potentially make discoveries that might be relevant to medicine and human diseases and agriculture and all sorts of things. Like just as an example, if anybody's heard of there are new kind of weight loss drugs that have been developed over the past few years that have been really important in helping people lose weight. Were actually developed by studying the venom of a Gila monster. Yeah, there's really cool examples of things like that where animals have already solved many problems in nature that we are just starting to unlock those mysteries. And by having their genomes, we can study many of those things. Um, How do you catch the animals? Largely, we can actually. If there's some species like salamanders that are pretty slow, and you can actually just walk up and grab them, but it turns out the whiptail lizards that I study are super fast, and they do not allow you very well to just walk up and catch them. So the way we catch them is we have a little pole that has a little piece of line on the end and a little loop, and we slip it around their neck and pull them up, and then we can grab them. And it's really great. It doesn't hurt them at all. It's just like a little loop of string that you can loop around their head because even though they won't let you get very close to touch them, they aren't as scared of the little loop. And I always like to think it's funny because ironically, my older brothers were the ones who first taught me how to do this when I was a kid, and we were just having fun catching lizards in the backyard. And it turns out that professional herpetologists essentially use the same technique that my older brothers were teaching me when I was like 7 years old. Um, um, so if these lizards are cloned of their mother, how does the species evolve? Wow, very advanced question. That's a good question. Yeah, actually that's one of the challenging things for these animals is that a really important part of evolution and species survival over long periods of time is the ability to create new genetic combinations through males and females combining their DNA. And so, as you point out, if they're clones of their mothers, they don't have that opportunity to kind of adapt to their changing environments. And so, while there still can be new mutations that arise each generation, right? So the offspring are, in some sense, clones of their mothers, but just like any other animals, there might be a very small number of mutations that might occur in their genome. So that can happen. But also, what we think happens is that these lizards actually don't aren't able to survive for millions of years. And so this was not data I showed you, but one of the things that the genomic data we've collected has allowed us to see is that all of these lizards that are only female, they've only been around for probably several thousand years, but the species that have males and females have been around for millions of years. And so it's not that these only female species have only been able to be formed over the past thousands of years. They've probably been formed for millions of years. But over time, because they aren't able to adapt to their environments very well, they face extinction over thousands of year time periods. So that's a really interesting thing we've also found by studying their genomes. What are some of your favorite memories from travels? Well, I think honestly, my favorite memories, I mean, there are the really exciting times, when we find really cool species that I've been looking at for a really long time. Like I mentioned, the Gila monster we found in my herpetology class. I freaked out. My students were laughing at how I was screaming with joy about being excited to see this animal that I'd wanted to see for a very long time. But honestly, a lot of the best memories are just being able to spend time with other people who are really interested in nature and look for these animals. It's just, yeah, we get to have really interesting conversations about science and about the natural world. And so I think, yeah, it really just comes down to being able to spend time with people who appreciate animals and share that experience with them. Also food. I love food. And so traveling to different places and trying food is has been amazing. I've like a lot of my work I mentioned is in Mexico and the Philippines, and I think they just have amazing food that I've gotten to try when I've been in those places. And so yeah.
That's really interesting. Thank you. I remember like one of my friends, like every time I asked him like what are you doing this weekend, he'd always be like, "Oh, I'm going hiking. I'm gonna go catch lizards." And I'd be like, "What?" And then like but it's really interesting to see how like things like iNaturalist, like I guess like regular people like uploading photos of lizards could like influence like your actual research on reptiles.
Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, those observations that people make are, like I showed you, are super valuable. Scientists are very interested in them, and we can learn so much from them. And yeah, it's always one of my favorite things as a professor is, getting students in my class who are maybe scared of snakes, and they get over their fear of snakes by learning and being able to touch these animals, and also, yeah, just yeah, getting them excited. I've had students in my class who like didn't know anything about herping and about finding reptiles and amphibians, and when they leave the class, they're like, "I'm gonna do this on my weekend by myself," and I'm like, "All right, I have done my job." So, yeah.
Really cool. I think you have one more question.
Oh, where is the farthest you have traveled to find amphibians or reptiles? Yeah, I guess so. Probably the Philippines is the longest. Those are the longest trips. So those are, the flights to the Philippines. Usually you have to fly from the U.S. to Japan, and then you fly to Manila, which is the big city in the northern Philippines. And then once you're there, you have to travel to many different parts of the country to actually find animals. And so, it's like 24 hours just of almost flying time to get there. So that's probably the longest trips that I've done. So I have not been to Africa yet, but that's kind of high on my list of next places I'd like to go. Australia too. But yeah, it's challenging. I have a 8-month-old son now, and so he gets much angrier when I leave for long periods of time. So it's tough, challenging being a dad and being a field biologist.
That's really cool. Wow. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming and speaking with us and answering all these questions. We really appreciate having you here.
Yeah, anytime you can, yeah, if anyone has any questions or anything, you can always email me. I'm easy to find online. You can just Google me and feel free to reach out. So thank you all for having me. And yeah, I hope the rest of the conference goes really well.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Yes, thank you so much to Dr. Barley for the fascinating presentation. I found it really interesting when he talked about the whiptail lizards and how some of them can reproduce by cloning themselves. It's really incredible to see how new tools are helping us understand species that biologists have been studying for over a century. But to conclude that speech, I'd like to now introduce SiteTrack and the amazing work they're doing to bring technology and conservation together.
For hosting this amazing event. My name is Andrew. I'm from the session team.
Andrew, your sound is a bit kind of weird. Your sound, yeah.
Yeah, your audio sounds like you're talking through a plane engine. You want to try again?
Okay, we can start now.
All right. Yeah, David, we can hear you.
Okay.
Awesome.
Hi everyone, I'm David, and thank you all for joining us.
Team, and we're really excited to be here to introduce our new app. Over the past few months, we've been working hard to create a platform that connects people with nature in a whole new way.
Andrew, I'm sorry, but your audio is like terrible. Do you think you could try like taking out like the headphones? That might help a little bit.
Actually,
And, like disconnecting them.
can you hear me right now?
Try talking for a little longer.
Hello, my name is Andrew.
Okay, never mind,
I'm
it's worse.
Andrew, do you have another device on? Like, make sure there's no other device.
I try to join on my phone and speak from my phone then.
Yeah, also, David, do you have PowerPoint to share? If you do, you could.
Yeah, I'll share right now.
Recording in progress.
Students on my phone. try to unmute as a on stage from my phone.
Yeah, sure. What's your name? Andrew? Okay, got it. Promote to panelist. Try again.
Can you hear me?
Yes, much clearer. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, great. Okay. So let's restart, David.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm David, and thank you for joining us.
Hi, I'm Andrew. We're part of the StatTrack team, and we're really excited to be here to introduce our new app. Over the past few months, we've been working hard to create a platform that connects people with nature in a whole new way.
Today, we'll walk you through what Sidetrack is, why we built it, and how it helps communities better understand and protect local biodiversity.
For today's presentation, we'll be covering 6 main aspects, and these include our mission, team, current problems, key features, advantages, and finally, our call to action. Each of these parts will help you understand not only what StatTrack is, but also why it matters and how you can get involved in supporting our mission.
So here's our amazing team, a group that brings together programmers, designers, and researchers from different backgrounds. Each of us contributed in different ways, from coding and interface design to data management and outreach. Here is our mission. Sidetrack uses AI to turn people's curiosity and passion for observing nature into valuable scientific data. Sidetrack goes beyond just collecting information, as it transforms those observations into insights that guide real conservation strategies. From individual actions to community-level ecological projects, we're building a complete loop that connects scientific discovery with local environmental protection. Building on that, we're scaling this into becoming a global leader in localized ecological action through an intelligent platform and a community mobilization network, so every community and household can actively and meaningfully contribute to biodiversity restoration.
Yeah, so StatTrack aims to solve or improve problems that are existing in other alike platforms. First, many citizen science projects already have large databases, but the data is often too sparse and clustered only around popular areas. StatTrack solves this by letting users conveniently record sightings of wildlife anywhere, helping fill in local data gaps and give scientists a clearer picture of global diversity. We also provide functionality to encourage users to take as many photos as possible in a selected area to improve observations. Furthermore, many people may have interest in contributing to citizen science projects, yet many of the projects are relatively harder for use and lack of specific guidance, which hinders participation. StatTrack not only is easier to use, as it is just to notice, shoot, and upload, but also provides detailed guidance that helps users to use the app.
Here are some key features that Sidetrack has. Sidetrack utilizes advanced AI machine learning using algorithms to identify thousands of types of species instantly with high accuracy. Through geolocation tracking, automatic location tagging maps will track species distribution and give a clear image of migration patterns over time. For real-time analytics, we track biodiversity trends and patterns to support scientific research with real-time data analysis. Furthermore, Sidetrack connects people worldwide in our collaborative and user-friendly platform with naturalists, researchers, and conservation enthusiasts.
The first feature of StatTrack is the AI-driven identification. StatTrack helps build high-quality datasets using AI-driven species identification. When you upload a photo, the AI first analyzes the key characteristics of the species, then suggest the most likely match. On the Create Setting page, the species name is automatically filled in with this suggestion, while a list of top likely species is also provided for a user to choose from. If none of these suggestions are correct, user can manually enter the name of the species, which will be automatically turned to the formal scientific name. This feature is designated to make data identification faster and more accurate, helping to strengthen scientific datasets.
Next, one of our key features is geolocation tracking. When you take a photo in SiteTrack, the app automatically detects your location and uses it to add important context about the species and its surrounding environment. This helps researchers and communities better understand where different species are being found. Also, if you prefer, you can manually search for and select a specific location. And to ensure your privacy, we've added an offset location feature, which it slightly shifts your actual point on the map, so your personal data stays protected while still keeping the actual data behind the scenes for accurate analysis.
The third feature we want to highlight is our global community. So on the community page within the app, users can connect and share with people from all around the world, including naturalists, researchers, and conservation enthusiasts. It's a place that everyone can exchange discoveries, learn from one another, and collaborate on environmental initiatives. For students, SciTrack also makes it easier to see who else from their school is participating, helping build a sense of teamwork and shared purpose in protecting local biodiversity.
Also, another key feature we're really proud of is real-time analytics. On the data page, you can explore biodiversity scores through an interactive 3D world map. You can zoom in, rotate, and view species distributions across different regions, seeing in real time how local environments and global ecosystems connect. This makes complex ecological data both engaging and easy to understand, whether you're a student, researcher, or simply someone curious about nature. Behind the scenes, every observation submitted by users contributes to a growing global database. This allows SciTrack to analyze biodiversity patterns, detect emerging environmental trends, and identify areas where conservation efforts might be most needed. These insights are valuable not only for everyday users, but also for scientists, conservationists, and policymakers, helping bridge the gap between community observation and scientific research.
So SciTrack operates through a simple 5-step loop. First, users begin by taking or uploading a photo from their device. Then our AI-driven model analyzes the image and identifies the species. After identification, users are encouraged to add additional information to improve the data accuracy. The completed setting is then uploaded to the database. Through this loop, SciTrack ensures the collection of high-quality data that scientists can analyze and use for research. SciTrack offers its users a way to gain volunteer service hours by simply taking and uploading sightings of species they spot. For each non-repeated sighting, SciTrack grants users 15 minutes of service time. SciTrack also offers additional 5 minutes per every 50 characters of detailed description. Travel time is also calculated and based on the distance between consecutive sightings. Once the user submits their service hour request, SciTrack will send an email to the school supervisor that user entered, and we will work with them to get it confirmed. As you can see, all of our SciTrack app pages were carefully designed on Figma. We wanted the app to feel clean, easy to navigate, and visually engaging, so users can focus on exploring nature instead of figuring out how to use the app. Every detail, starting from how the data is displayed to how the community page feels, was designed with purpose. Our goal is to make StatTrack intuitive and enjoyable to use, while still staying true to our mission of connecting people with the environment through technology.
Next off, SiteTrack offers several unique advantages that make it a powerful tool for both users and researchers. Firstly, we have comprehensive data collection. Unlike platforms such as eBird that focus on specific species groups, SiteTrack gathers data on all types of wildlife. This broader approach helps build a more complete picture of biodiversity and supports a wider range of specific scientific research. Secondly, we have accurate AI identification. Our advanced AI model analyzes each photo to identify species quickly and reliably. This not only helps users learn more about what they've spotted, but also ensures scientists receive high-quality, accurately classified data. Third, our app is simple and accessible. SiteTrack is designed to be fast and easy to use. There's no need for long forms. Just take a photo and the app automatically tags the time and location. Everything happens right from your phone, making it perfect for everyday users and field researchers alike. Finally, we have strong privacy protection, since users have full control over their location data. SiteTrack includes an optional location offset feature that keeps personal locations private while still maintaining scientific accuracy. So as you can see here, there are some photos of the map used by iNaturalist, another organization that works on similar stuff to us. So the map is at full scale, which is shown on the left. It appears entirely red in areas, but when you zoom in, they reveal that sightings are actually concentrated in only a few spots, leaving many areas sparse, as you can see on the right two photos. In contrast, SiteTrack prioritizes collecting data and photos more evenly across smaller, localized areas and communities. By intentionally spreading observations, we provide a more accurate representation of biodiversity, giving researchers, conservationists, and local stakeholders precise, actionable insights. This approach uncovers real trends and patterns often missed on broader platforms and supports informed decisions for environmental protection, sustainable management, and community engagement. Next.
Please join us in helping protect biodiversity by downloading StatTrack on the App Store and visiting our website to learn more. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok for updates, new features, and stories from our community. Our website and email are listed below. Thank you for supporting StatTrack. And the QR code actually leads to the App Store, so anyone wants to download, you can just scan it.
Awesome. Sounds great.
Oh, it's not finished yet.
Okay, so here is our listing on the iOS App Store. Unfortunately, if you have an Android device, you won't be able to download the app at this time. However, we are currently working to create an Android release soon, so please tune in for updates.
So that's all for today. Thank you for letting us share a bit about StatTrack. And if you have any questions, we'll be really happy to answer them.
Yeah, great. It looks like you guys have some questions in the chat. So if
Yeah.
you wanna maybe stop sharing your screen or I could read them. Up to you.
Okay.
All right. So one person asked, how have you done your outreach and scaling as a youth-led organization? What methods do you recommend for other startups that wish to grow?
So we basically do emails and also Instagram outreach. So we just connect organizations that we feel like we can work with and collaborate on different various aspects. And for example, we outreach to iNaturalist, eBirds, and those kind of like organizations. Yeah. So And also Instagram is also a really great way to outreach, because there are a lot of like non-profit organizations on Instagram, and you can just send a chat and they probably will answer them to see how you guys will collaborate.
That's really cool. Another person asked, well, is it like Pokemon Go but for real animals?
I
Uh,
would say yes. It's a it's a really great metaphor. It is like Pokemon Go, but it's like for real animals, and yeah, so it's really cool to use. Yeah.
Sounds fun. Another person asked, how did you make this less complicated so that people actually know how to use it properly? Like, I guess what features? I mean, I think you covered a lot of them in your presentation, but
Um, I think for now it's kind of like straightforward to use, and I see another question asking if I can do a live demo, and so I would answer this question also in that during that question.
awesome. Before then, there's another question on, are you planning to integrate this service with other citizen science platforms that have large data sets and user bases that your solution could serve? And if so, how?
Um, so yeah, I think that's basically our plan to collaborate with other like platforms with larger data sets, and as for example, iNaturalist and eBirds, as I mentioned. But like we don't know yet how specifically we can collaborate with them. We need to first outreach and see what they feel like we can collaborate on. Maybe we can collaborate on like collecting data on like distant areas, and yeah, so we'll see how that goes.
That'll be really interesting. All right. A live demo would be really cool. Like, do you think that would be possible on this webinar?
I can try to share it on my phone.
Yeah, sure. Let me know if you need any help with something.
Screen share. Can you see the screen broadcast, or is it not
No,
showing
I'm
up?
afraid I can't. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Um, yeah, I think there's a problem. But still, I think the functions of the app is really straightforward. Because I showed the Figma page, and we basically designed all these pages, all the functionalities with purpose, and which is basically focus on user friendly, being friendly to user. And so yeah, so you can just so it's basically you can just take a photo and you upload the photo, and you can add some description, and then you'll be automatically turned to like really good citing data that can be used by scientists. So yeah.
Is there like a requirement for like how the photos must look? Because like if it's like really blurry or really dark, do you think that wouldn't like work? Or is there like stuff that you're working on to try and get around that?
Uh, so we want users to take like basically decent photo that clearly show what the species is in the image. So if it's too dark or too blurry, we're not able to identify what it is. So we also have guidance for users to see how to take a good photo. So everything is in the app. So yeah.
Awesome. Another person asked, how effective is SiteTrack's algorithm for larger scale data collection, such as aerial?
Um, we don't have a really large scale data like collection right now, so we're not. I can just say for 100% sure, but I think it will work really well as it works really well till now, and we have like many data, but it's not like really in large scale, but we still have a lot. But yeah, it works.
All right, that would be really interesting if
Yeah.
that did then. And lastly, we have one more question. From Mark, we have, do you have your own AI code or do you use an online API to do species identification?
Um, I think James is mainly working on that, but I think we're basically doing a um we're doing an online API thing instead of using our own AI code. But yeah, it works really well. So basically I think we're doing two AI models. So one of them will identify the characteristics of the species in the image, and then we'll input them to another AI model, and then the new AI model will identify what the species it is. And it works till now. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Um, that appears to be all the questions for now. Thanks so much for coming here and speaking and answering all of these questions. It was really nice to hear about your app and what you guys have been doing for reptile conservation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, see you guys later. That being said,
So
now
I
we're
guess
gonna,
this is closing remarks, right?
oh, no, actually, now we're gonna introduce Mark Hole, who works with like computer science, and he's gonna present like I guess a workshop on how to create your own like citizen science app using free materials.
All
Okay.
right. Well, thank you very much, Alyssa. Hi to everyone. So my job after seeing these other great presenters is to perhaps tell you how you can make your own niche application with no programming experience, with no money, and make it work. So in the next however long it takes, hopefully you will all recognize what I'm showing you, Gmail, Google Drive, etc. And you'll have all these ideas percolating in your head. So with that, I'm going to share my screen, and I do have a presentation, but hopefully we can do some live demos, and I can show you how to vibe code later on. So let's go with sharing here. And I'm going to share my desktop. And we're going to go to my, oops, here we go. No. Oops, sorry. I've got multiple browsers open here with multiple different users. So here we are. Yes, I've just showed you another browser that I've signed in as the ReptileMap. That was my user. So this is mine. All right, so this presentation with me, Mark, is about building your own citizen science platform using free stuff. All right, so we're talking Google spreadsheets, etc., and something called vibe coding. You may have heard of this, you may not have, but at the end of this presentation, you'll have another buzzword that you can use. Okay, so let's get going. This is me. My background is in the IT business and also teaching. So I was a teacher for 20 years. I'm now mostly retired, but enjoying life now. But I've had an entire lifetime of trying to get things for free. And I love finding things for free. And I'm pretty sure most of you do as well. So everything I'm going to show you today is freely available and again, works really, really well. All right, so citizen science, I'm pretty sure everyone on this call knows what that is. We're talking about ReptileMap, we're talking about iNaturalist, we're talking about SiteTrack. These are all examples of citizen science. All right, so we don't really need to get into it too much. Everyone knows what a citizen is. It's someone with the rights and responsibilities for a specific country, city, right? Particular to me, I'm Canadian, so a Canadian citizen would have rights and responsibilities. Whoops. And a scientist, of course, is a person who collects data, analyzes that data, and then comes to some kind of conclusion. So citizen scientist would be something that would connect these two worlds. All right. So a citizen science, from my point of view, is science that is conducted by the average person, like everybody on this call. For example, maybe you're using SiteTrack or iNaturalist, and you're taking a picture of a lizard, like Dr. Barley was doing. You would be a citizen scientist. You're adding to the knowledge base. So most citizen scientists will be data collecting, right? Basically crowdsourcing data. It'd be too difficult for the limited number of scientists to, in fact, collect all the data. So it's really great now that we have these platforms that enable people to, for citizen scientists to contribute data to the collective. Another thing that citizen scientists can help with is analysis. For example, image identification. Although just seeing what SiteTrack's been able to do, maybe that's not so important anymore. You just upload your image and then voila, AI can identify it for you. But that is another thing that citizen scientists can do, help with identifying and looking at things. Much like that annoying CAPTCHA. You ever seen the annoying CAPTCHA? Oh, identify like every motorcycle, right? And then it just won't allow you to move on until you click all the motorcycles. Well, guess what? They're tricking you into doing image analysis for them. So in the end, the goal is to expand scientific knowledge and get to the truth is what we're all after, right? So it's beyond what scientists can do. If everyone else can support them, that's great. So this is an example of some citizen scientists out here in the field, right? And they're saying, I wish that there was a digital platform to share my observations and, work with others to expand our search for the truth. There are, of course, examples like we've heard. One that I thought was kind of cool is called Zooniverse. Catchy name. Millions of people use this people-powered app to essentially, what does the lizard say? Citizen scientists use this platform to crowdsource image classification, identify galaxies. I think that's pretty cool, and transcribe old documents. So it's not just for reptiles or animals, it's for all different kinds of scientific endeavor. So why is it important? Well, massive data collection over vast geographical space. Impossible for scientists to do it all. So great to have the public involved. Also, this works for public engagement, right? Let's get those kids interested in saving reptiles. So it's not just for data collection, image analysis, but it's also an outreach and for people such as yourselves on this call, try to get people interested in the environment. Cost effective, yep. I'm guessing everybody on this call has a cell phone that has a way better camera than my piece of crap from 2016. So everyone has the data collection in their hand, in their pocket. So it's cost effective. And like lastly, if you live in, let's say, Phoenix, you're just gonna know a lot more about lizards than me, who lives in New Brunswick, Canada. We don't have any lizards. It's too cold. So local knowledge important. All right, just one more here, an iNaturalist. iNaturalist, I think, is the biggest one, and it has, almost 300 million people have added to this. So hopefully SiteTrack can do a, access their data or somehow connect them. That would be really great. Okay, so what does the lizard say? Citizen science uses a platform to track and share observations. So much like SiteTrack. All right, but how can I make my own? Okay, so what if I have no programming, no database knowledge, no web server knowledge, and no money? Well, no problem. So I'm going to show you in the next little while how you can create some things, something that you can be proud of with free stuff, which we all love. All right, so what we make today, we're going to make a simplified version of something called ReptileMap.world. All right, so ReptileMap.world is a simplified version of this, iNaturalist or SiteTrack that allows people to upload their photos and descriptions and a geographic location, right? So we're going to do a very, very simplified version of that to demonstrate how all of you can be empowered to build something, right? If you're looking to make a niche, maybe something you're interested only in a specific kind of lizard, like the whip-tailed lizard. You can make a whip-tailed lizard data collection, right? So it's just another way for you to be creative. So let's take a look. All right, so this is what I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna have a few videos because I made the videos because sometimes doing a live demo during a presentation is a very bad idea because technology can fail. It can be a problem. So I do have videos to show you, and I'll talk over them when it's happening. But later I can show you a live demo. So we're going to make something like this, species sighting map. Okay, so get ready to copy and paste. The people who, I mean, I love copying and pasting. I'm sure all of you do as well. All right, so at the basis, there are two platforms that I really use a lot. Okay, I'm not sure if any of you recognize these ones. Probably the big G. Okay, these are two big G's. All right, the big G, of course, is Google. Right, and the second G, maybe not as many of you know this one, but this one is, in my opinion, almost as important. Okay, and it is something called GitHub. GitHub. All right. So through the Google suite of products and GitHub, we are going to produce something. We're going to produce a platform for, I guess, disseminating information from a live database. All right. So this is ReptileMap. This was built with vibe coding, a Google backend sheet, a Google Sheet. We've all used that spreadsheet program. All right, it's online, it's free, and all the data is sitting in this free database. So if those of you who haven't seen the reptileworld.map, it kind of looks like this, right? It's got all different sections. But the real strength of it is the actual online dynamic map and the ability to upload stories, and of course, your observations in the field. So this was all made with vibe coding and just a really easy back-end database. Oops, next. Okay, so like I said, the real power and the interesting bit that makes this difficult, quote unquote, is the dynamic map and also the connection to the database, right? That's the real, like, oh my God, how do I do that? Well, it's actually easier than you think when you just ask Gemini AI and it tells you. So this is a reptile map. You can see that's a map of the world, and you can place a dot where your observation is and then upload an image. Okay, so this is how you do it. Okay, so let's see. It's very straightforward. You zoom in on your geographic location. Let's say the Amazon rainforest here, and you notice that click on it, and then the observation latitude and longitude is populated. You type in the species, you provide an image URL, and then you submit, and then you can see it's submitting the data. And what's happening now is it's sending this data to the Google Sheet. So there you go. And then it's populated on the map. All right. So that's the workflow. So it's very, very simple. And the foundation of this is Gmail, right? You get a Gmail account, which are free. I love it. I have like 5 of these things. Sometimes it's hard to remember how many I have. I've got one like for a job search I was doing in 2024. I've got one for ReptileMap. I've got one for my personal. I don't know. I'm just collecting them. I guess like Pokemon. And because you have Gmail, you get Google Sheets, you get Google Docs, you get the whole suite. You get Gemini, et cetera, et cetera. Gemini being the AI. But for this application, our database will be a simple spreadsheet, super easy to manage for a small scale citizen science project. Allows you to input and collect data from an online form, which I just showed you. And of course, can be viewed on a public facing website like reptilemap.world. Okay, so the real key is having the Gmail account and then setting up a very simple Gmail, or sorry, spreadsheet. Okay, so here is the ReptileMap Gmail. You can see little lizard there. So step one is to get the Gmail. I'm gonna have 10 steps, okay? That's what this takes, 10 steps. All right, and then of course you can see that we have step two, you create a database, and the database is simply a spreadsheet, right? And this is what it looks like for ReptileMap. So we have latitude, longitude, right? Species, a link, which I haven't been using, and then an image. Obviously, it would be better if you just uploaded the entire image, but time was getting of the essence, so I didn't implement that, but that's completely doable. Did you know that an image can be represented as a series of letters and numbers? So I could convert an image into letters and numbers and put it into the spreadsheet. But the thing is, then you have to have a very small, relatively small image. Otherwise, it's like a massive number of letters and numbers. Anyways, I digress. You can see that this is all the data you need. And the date is created by the program. Yeah. And for those of you who are not aware of what latitude and longitude is, if you failed geography lessons or something like that, it's simply a Cartesian coordinate system plane over the world, and latitude would be north and south of the equator, and longitude would be east and west of the prime meridian, which runs through London, England, for various reasons, historical reasons. Okay, so that's the database. That's it. Okay, you don't need to be a genius to understand that. You don't need 4 years of computer science to understand that. You just need to be able to click your button in a square and type into it if you want to manage it. All right, so what are the pros and cons of using a very simple database like this? Well, obviously, it's free and it's easy to access. It's also extremely easy to learn and manage, right? Like a 5-year-old could learn this in a day. Obviously, you could see it has versioning and history. So you could see, oh, who changed this? And you could go back in time. Oh, geez, I made a mistake and I took out some data. You can actually go back in time to a previous version. It's easy to share and publish to the web, which I'll show you. And there's something called an API, which may be a little too complicated to mention. However, when I do the Gemini portion in a few minutes, you will see some code that references something called an API, or an application programming interface. But guess what? Gemini makes all the code for us, so don't worry about it. But there is a thing called API. What's wrong with using this type of very simple database, a spreadsheet? Well, if you become like iNaturalist and you have 280 million observations, well, you could run into problems of scale, right? Google's going to send you a bill and they're going to say, please pay us thousands of dollars for the bandwidth you're using, right? Also, it could slow down. There's also no relational structure. Again, don't worry about what this means, but it just means querying the data could get problematic once it gets very large, okay? Security, probably not the best on a free database. And finally, there is no something called SQL, or structured query language, which makes it easy to search a database that's large, but there is nothing like that in this database. But for our use case, which is just a very niche, reptile map, we don't really need anything fancy. We just need something free and simple. All right, so let's just take a quick look at the database and how we can change it. Super easy. Okay, so here's our data here. So instead of anaconda, maybe we want to change it make it giant anaconda, right? So that just shows you how easy it is to manage the database. I think everybody on this call could figure that out, right? And then, of course, you can see, I'm going to go to reptile.map.world, and you can see instantly that instead of just anaconda, it's now giant anaconda. So the database is live and very easy to alter if need be by the administrator of reptilemap.world. Okay, once you have this database, right? Once you have, the columns, latitude, longitude, species, etc., you will have to share this to the world. So Google makes it very easy. You just go, file, pull down, publish to the web, and then you say, okay, I want to publish sheet 1. And you want to, in this case, you're going to publish as a comma separated values. And they give you this link. So you just need to grab this link, and you're going to provide this to Gemini soon when you're asking it to produce the code. That's it. Okay. So then you're going to be able to connect your database that's now available on the internet to the AI that's making the code for you. So again, that's your copy. Soon you're going to paste it, right? So what was that? That's step 3. Step 1, get your Gmail. Step 2, make your spreadsheet. Step 3, make your spreadsheet available online. Okay. And then copy your location here that it gives you. All right. So let's just show you how this is done. Share, publish to web, entire document? No, just a sheet. Web page? No. Comma separated values? Yes. All right. And then you just grab all that stuff and you put it on your clipboard, copy, and you have it for later. Okay, that's it. So that's step 3. Super easy. Okay, now the magic, the code. Everyone's the most difficult thing, right? Like, oh, what are all those, all these codes mean, right? But now you can just vibe code. So what is vibe coding? Basically, you do a prompt to an AI like ChatGPT or Gemini, or there are other ones, and you give the prompt as a vibe, and then it provides you specific code that works in a browser, right? It's actually pretty amazing. So vibe coding, have AI code your app for you. So in the world of AI vibe coding, the role of the programmer is no longer to write line by line, coming up with algorithms. It's now using AI to build a basic app, right? And then the vibe coder's job is to refine, generate, and produce these really great vibe prompts that the AI then uses to provide you the specific code, right? So the focus is now on the desired outcome. So that means now coding and making apps is much more accessible to people without specialized information and skills as coders. So here's an example prompt. So vibe code me a simple HTML page with a submit observation button and a green theme, right? That's maybe how you start if you're doing ReptileMap. If any of you on this call were about to create ReptileMap, think, okay, I want a green web page. It's got to have, an observation form that I could fill in. It's going to have a map, etc. This is an example prompt. I'm going to show you a prompt that I used, and it did work. So I found a lot of memes. I like memes. Like, I really like memes. I think they're hilarious. This one, here's a senior programmer, right? Someone like me, old guy that has been programming for 20 years. I once heard there was a programmer that wrote their code without ChatGPT, and all the junior programmers are gasping like, oh, what was life like back then? So it's a new world out there. So obviously, people like myself, a senior programmer, we're still needed, but I think there'll be fewer and fewer junior programmers required to do the actual coding. There'll now be vibe coders, right? So this is a new skill set for all of you to learn. Okay, pros and cons. Obviously, way faster. I'm going to show you how to create an app in like 20 minutes, right? Rapid prototyping, building. Accessibility. Anyone on this, after you've watched me do this presentation, any one of you can go over to Gemini and just start playing and then build an app. It's pretty cool. Also, like now it's not, you don't need to know a language intimately. Your AI co-pilot or assistant knows all that. You just have to vibe, right? So that's good. However, there are some downsides. Just want to make you familiar with them. The code quality can be a little bit suspect because guess what? The AI is combing the internet and is using the information from the internet, and maybe the solutions provided on the internet, they're not good. They're bad solutions, right? So they could be bad code, inefficient code, messy code, etc. Also, who knows? These bad solutions could introduce hidden security flaws, vulnerabilities. So you do require maybe a senior programmer to still look into it for larger applications. However, if you're just making a project for school or maybe, you know, a nonprofit like ReptileMap.world, it's completely cool to use vibe coding. Do you guys know Ralphie from The Simpsons? Ralphie from The Simpsons, you know, is the kind of like a little bit slow. I'm a developer now. My code doesn't work. I have no idea why. My code works. I have no idea why, right? This is the world of vibe coding. You don't care. You just want your solution, and the AI makes it for you. There's a couple different ways or a couple different types of vibe coding environments. For example, if you are using a specific tool set to do your programming, let's say you're a junior programmer, you have something like GitHub Copilot or Cursor. Well, it will provide you, it will kind of read your mind. When you start like spell check, if you're in Google Doc or you're texting, and all of a sudden, you know, sometimes it's annoying and you're texting and text the wrong thing. You're trying to text Apple and it puts like orange or something, right? Well, that's one of the it types. It's an encode editor. So it says, oh, did you want to do this? Right? And sometimes it gives you the wrong answer. Full stack generators, never tried this yet, but these things, you give them a prompt and it just gives you the solution. But the solution I like or that I've used is the ChatGPT and the Gemini, which is basically type in your prompt and it gives you a solution. So if you take anything away from this, it learned that you've been vibe coding ever since ChatGPT came out, right? If you're a programmer. So I don't know any programmers now that don't use Gemini. I mean, there might exist some really old dudes that just know these languages amazingly well, but pretty much anyone under the age of 40, and even me, when I'm in my 50s, I love vibe coding, at least to begin with. Okay, so I use Gemini, right? So Google Gemini is free as part of your account, and you can easily generate your web page that looks good using HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So Gemini is going to do all that for you. Here's my prompt. Okay, so please create a web page that uses leaflet map. Okay, this is a free mapping component, right? You don't need to know anything about it. Don't need to know how it works. You could even just say, put a map in there, and it might even use leaflet. But I say leaflet because I'm a senior programmer, so I know and have used leaflet before. But for you, you could probably just say map, put a map in there, and say to render the location of species found in the wild. The markers should be clickable, and the species image should be shown on the pop-up. The data should be fetched from a Google Sheet published as a CSV. Step 2, remember that. The column names are latitude, longitude, species, and image. And the URL of the published CSV is, this is where I get to paste, right? So this is what I'm going to give to Gemini, and it's going to make the app for me. It's so amazing. Wait till you see it happen. Okay, so what do? You just take your prompt, and Gemini says, hello, ReptileMap, or whoever you are, and you paste it in there, and then you push the go button, and it's going to go out, and it's going to make your app. Okay, so that's step 4. Vibe code an app into existence simply by using a prompt. So here's another little video for you. So clicking, and then it goes out, and there it goes. It's starting to code for you. It's like, imagine how long it would take just even to type all this stuff out. Meanwhile, Gemini is making it for me in seconds. And then it gives me a preview. And voila, there it is. So it's using the data I already have. And you can see there's errors in this. For example, the images are not found. One of the things that Gemini allows you to do is when there are problems, you can say, oh, you can tell it what the problem is. For some reason, the image isn't found. Please fix this. And it will go out and debug the code. All right, so here I am explaining to the AI what the heck's wrong with this. All right, so you can see, nice, but the images did not show up. And click on that. So you're vibing and you are working with your AI assistant, right? So, and it even gives you a nice little, this is frustrating, right? It's almost like it's a real person. But see, didn't fix it. So sometimes it's frustrating for you because, and sometimes the AI will even tell you, yeah, it's working. It's working. And you're like, no, it's not. It's not working. So you have to learn how to ask specific questions and understand how the AI thinks, right? So it's like you have many friends. Some friends you have to, like, you don't even have to say very many words, and they understand you. Other friends, you have to be very deliberate. Well, in this case, you have to be very deliberate because the AI, sometimes it will even argue with you. I'm thinking, are you my girlfriend? Come on, stop arguing with me. So anyways, long story short, you just put the prompts in, and I never really did get it to work. So I mean, I didn't want this presentation to last forever. Like you can just keep saying, fix it, fix it, fix it. And sometimes it takes a while, depending if it's on the complexity of what you're asking it to do. So anyways, you can see me talking to it, the species, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So the intellectual process of debugging becomes a conversation between you and the AI. Obviously, if you're a senior programmer or know anything, you can actually look at the code. But if you know nothing, you're having this conversation. And then the coder is just going to go back and do it. So at times it annoys me, but most of the time I'm like, how did this just happen? An entire class of jobs is like completely changed. So we no longer make line by line code. We work with an AI and to make applications. All right. So that's that. And okay, so now you have your code. let's just pretend that worked perfectly. I mean, obviously the image didn't show up, but you got it. It is identifying, it is getting the information from the database. So now it's giving me the code. So where do I put it? So here's another meme. Where do you save your code? Google Drive. And then he's looking, no, 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 no. You do not save it on Google Drive. You use GitHub. GitHub. Okay. Git hub. I'm not sure why they called it that, but like maybe it's like a slang term like git, like instead of get. I don't know. Anyways, here's the GitHub Octocat upset that they're going to use Google Drive. No, use GitHub. To GitHub to store your code, save your code on the internet. All right. So what is GitHub? It's a place where you can store your code. All right. Don't forget, you're just going to copy and paste the code. You don't need to know anything that's inside it. You don't need to understand it. But you do need to put it in a spot online so your website can work. And what do? Well, you use GitHub. So basically, GitHub allows you to store and version. That means over time, you'll update your code, perhaps. That'll be versioning. And you can actually go back in time if you make errors. So GitHub is free, much like Google. It allows you to store your code in online repositories. So basically, a repository is a place online where you can put your code. Most people in the biz call them repos. Okay. And when you have your code in there, it can be edited and, like I said, versioned. In case you make a mistake, you can go back to the last working version. Okay, so this is what GitHub looks like. So GitHub, basically, I log into GitHub using my Google account. So I don't even need another login. So it says sign in. I'll go sign in using my Gmail, right? So that's step 5. Log into GitHub using my Google. And you can see the ReptileMap lizard is there. So this would be your front page in GitHub. And then you make something called a repository to put your files in. So in this case, it'll be your HTML code and your JavaScript code that the AI is made for you, like this. Okay, so you are going to paste from Gemini into this. And I have a little video that shows you how to do it. So step 6 to 8 is to create a repo, add a file, and then paste the code, right? And maybe that sounds complicated, but basically it's pushing a button and then pasting. Okay, so let me show you a video of me doing that so it's not scary. All right, so we're going to create a new file. First is to create the repo. All right, there's a big green button that says new. All right, you just create it. In this case, it's called test. And then number 2, you create a file, and then you just paste the code in there, and you say save. All right, here's my video just to prove how easy it is. All right, see, can you see this? There we go. All right, so this is Gemini. So I use Command A, and that allows you to, or if you're on Mac, or Control A if you're on PC. So here I go. I want to create a new repository. And guess what? There's a big green button that says new. And you give it a name. In this case, I'm just going to call it test. And it says that's name's available. And then I say create repository. So now I have my area where I can put files. So then next, create a new file. In my case, I'm going to call it the same name as Gemini told me to call it, index.html. And this is where I can paste. So lots of copying and pasting in this. And then I just commit the changes. That's it. Boom. Now I've got a web front end that contacts my database. And all I've done, it's a 10-step process. That's it. Okay, moving on to the next slide. There we go. All right, next thing, and the final thing, is to make your new code available to everyone in the world, right? So basically make your website, put it on the web, right? So how do you do that? Well, there is an area inside GitHub called GitHub Pages. You can see it in gray down here. Not sure if I have yeah. So step 9 is to enable GitHub Pages for your repo, right? And you can see when you click on Pages, eventually you will get an area here. It says reptilemap.github.io/test, test being the name of your repo. And that will take you to index.html. Okay, so I hope I'm not losing people, but suffice to say, if you watched, there's a video I've made about this, and it's on reptilemap.world. And the video, I think, is less than 10 minutes. And if you follow it, you can make your own reptile.map in like 20 minutes. It's very simple. Okay, so GitHub Pages is the most amazing service in the world. It's free web hosting. Free web hosting, right? So it's so great. I have a web hosting or a web business, and I have many websites, and I always just use GitHub Pages. Super easy. So my clients never pay anything for web hosting. So here's the final video, I believe, and it's just to show you how to go to GitHub Pages. Just click on that, and it says, all you have to do is say use a main branch, save it, and then it's going to basically send the request away, and then a few moments later, you're going to basically have a website already online, and you can share it with the whole world. So there's your 10-step process to use vibe coding, freely available database with Gmail. That's it. And that's it. Admire your free vibe code map app that you make in like 20 minutes. The most annoying part is sometimes arguing and vibe code debugging or getting rid of the errors, because it's actually a conversation with Gemini or ChatGPT, because you might, hey, this isn't what I wanted. That's the most complex part. But if you don't mind talking to an AI, then you're in luck. Okay, so I think I'm done. So no programming, no database knowledge, no web server, no money, no problem. You've got a website that is dynamic. It's basically using data and allows you to collect data. Just a little plug for, I believe there will be a TK Ethics, like a workshop to allow you to go further, and you'll learn a little bit more technical knowledge. For example, instead of just saying Gmail, I'll use terms like user authentication, database, server-side coding, vibe coding, source code editing, local web server, online file storage. So there will be, I believe, a workshop available. So if you're interested in that, you can maybe talk with Yi later. Thank you. I hope that you've learned something and that's not a scary thing. And I'm just really excited now that all of you very keen students can basically make things that you can be proud of and use, in your nonprofits, in your classrooms, and there's no barrier to entry really anymore. Okay, so thank you very much, and maybe there's questions.
So yeah, I think you have a few questions.
I'll stop sharing then.
All right.
There we go.
Well, someone asked, citizen science probably works best with large participation, but at the same time, not all mainstream platforms are designed for a specific project's need. In what situations would you recommend a project use a public API or forks from a larger platform when it's actually worth it to make a custom platform? And when is it actually worth it to make a custom platform that sees less engagement?
Yeah, I mean, let's just say you are interested in crayfish, not even all crayfish, a single type of crayfish, okay? And there's only 50 people in the entire world that are interested in this. In fact, I'm interested in crayfish. I know it's a weird, nerdy thing, but I actually go to crayfish conferences and
What?
collect data on crayfish. Yeah, it's crazy. I've actually gone to the Czech Republic for a crayfish conference. So, um, in that instance where it's a very niche and you want specific information and your database has to be specific for your research, I would say maybe you should vibe code your own app. However, if you want something that is worldwide and the database, it's not so important how the database is structured, then why not use iNaturalist with almost 300 million observations already in the database, right? So it really depends on the nature of your research, whether it's extremely narrow, right? In that case, you might have to code your own. And the barriers to coding your own now are relatively minimal compared to, I'm sure what iNaturalist had to hire like professional programmers for a lot of money in the past. So I hope that answers the question. It's basically, it's so individual, right? It's based upon the nature of your application and your data needs. Yeah. Does
Yeah.
that sound right, Alyssa?
Honestly, I'm not sure if I completely understand this, but that makes sense. Yeah.
Well, I'm just
Um,
saying, like, if you're researching like a specific crayfish, right? Not a lot of people are interested in that, and you may need specific data, so you might have to make your own. Whereas if you're making, studying tigers, which is a
yeah,
very charismatic and widely known, um, you maybe can use iNaturalist, which is already there.
that makes sense. Okay.
But
There's another question for what do you mean CAPTCHA is making you do image identification for them? Um,
yeah,
I think you mentioned somewhere in your presentation that like whenever you like select all the bicycles, it's like part of the I don't know. That was interesting. Yeah.
yeah. Well, CAPTCHA is essentially you are identifying when you're doing that, you're actually helping the company identify pictures, right? And when you are clicking on it, it's like tagging it so that eventually the AI will be able to identify that's a bicycle. Because I mean, think about it. There are millions of different kinds of bicycles, but in our mind, okay, a tandem bicycle is a bicycle, and a road bike is also a bicycle. Like an AI might not be able to figure that out, but we train it. And CAPTCHA is a sneaky way of getting millions and millions of people to train their AI and replace people.
So how does it know that we like fail the thing? Like why does it tell me that like I am a robot when I'm not?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they partially have AI in it. So it has two purposes, that CAPTCHA. One is, of course, as a security measure, but also another thing is for you to tag their data for you, right? I mean, they have millions of people in India just tagging data in Africa because their wages are so low. They that's their whole job. Okay, that's a bike, that's a bike. But why not get CAPTCHA to get that information?
That's really interesting.
Yeah,
Another question is, what are your opinions on relying on AI for parts of code? For parts
relying.
of code.
Well, I mean,
Yes.
for reptilemap.world, is anyone going to die? If it's not mission critical, I wouldn't worry about it, right? So mission critical would be something like routing ambulances and fire departments or the nuclear arsenal of Russia, right? You don't want vibe coding that, Or at least if you
Yeah.
do vibe code it, you want some very senior people overseeing or providing oversight for that code. However, if it's just like something you're doing with your nonprofit, like ReptileMap, um, I don't see why it should matter. I mean, who's going to hack you? Like, who's going to, ooh, they're going to steal your species information? Like, no. But if they're going to, set off the nuclear arsenal of Russia, that's pretty important. So in that case, I probably wouldn't trust the AI.
That makes sense. Another question is, how do you manage having so many collaborators in programs like this, all coding on the same files?
That's a problem. Yeah. Especially if they are living in different cities or they don't like each other, or one programmer has a very weird style and they don't comment their work. So generally in teams, um, like for example, you're working on a GitHub project and there's 20 different people collaborating on code. You usually have standards, coding standards. Okay, this is how we document our functions in our code. And if you don't do it, you could be, you have a code review and your boss will not give you a raise next time or something like that. So yeah, it's tricky, just like in working with anyone. It's perhaps even more tricky when it's code because everyone has their own style. So you might, somebody might have learned, like someone like me might have learned to program in the 1980s, and I have a different style than somebody who learned in the 2000s, right? So it is difficult to maintain that, but I would say how you get past it is having standards and also forcing people to basically put comments in their code, like, oh, this function does this, right? You'd be amazed, like, and even if you go on vacation and you come back and it's your code, sometimes you're like, oh, what does this code even do? You forget. So without comments, that could be a problem.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Another question was, I personally use Replit for coding websites. Which websites are best for coding AI?
Hmm. I I like Gemini. I don't know. I just I'm used to it now. Probably many of you use ChatGPT. You're just used to it. Okay, do my math homework, right?
Real. Yeah.
Write me my English essay in the voice of Ernest Hemingway, right? Well, you just get used to your tool set. So I got used to Gemini and I already have Google and I'm just used to the way it works. So that's how I've done it. Some people love Copilot. Some people love, there's loads of these things now. Like, but for me, I like the free text. I don't know. It's just for me that prompt, and I can be specific because I do have some specific knowledge. So it's really easy for me. But maybe for someone who's more new, maybe more the like like GitHub Copilot, which you start typing something and it just fills it out for you. That might be better. But personally, for me, I like, and it'd be personal for everyone. Like it sounds like the questioner has a favorite one. So if it works for them, hey, go for it. Gemini, ChatGPT work for me because I like the full text.
That makes sense. Edward asked, what's the role of internet-based CSS, HTML, and JavaScript templates versus AI coding?
Okay, well, obviously, I mean, if you've done any kind of programming whatsoever, or have looked at um, websites, and often you'll say, okay, oh, I love the way that looks, right? Oh, look at that website. I want to make one just like that. And it'll be a template, and you can purchase them. A lot are free. And then you can go into the code and just, you know, instead of Alyssa, change it, or instead of Mark, you can just put Alyssa, put your photos in there, right? So that's one way of doing it. But what if there isn't a template that you like and you want it to do something beyond static content, like just a couple images? What if you want it to do dynamic mapping, upload data to a database, right? And then populate a map from the database, right? You're not going to get that in a template. So that's where the vibe coding comes in, because you're asking something complicated, right? You're asking like, okay, go get some data from a database, draw it on a dynamic map, and then, a user wants to upload to the database. So there's all sorts of things that are happening. And in the past, this was quite difficult, right? Because you're dealing with web servers and security issues and user authentication. Now it's like, okay, vibe code. So it's much easier. But if you're doing something complex, yeah, you're not using a template. You have to vibe it.
Got it. Okay. One last question then. How do you make sure AI code doesn't interfere with each other? I find that AI code tends to call the same few variables every time, causing conflicts.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, what is AI? It's a large language model. So basically, and like we call it AI, but let's be specific. It's a large language model that is fed a whole bunch of information, i.e. the internet. So it's just spewing back what people on the internet have said. So if there's a whole bunch of idiots on the internet, your AI could be telling you things that are not right. Right? So that often is the case. And then sometimes the AI will tell you, oh, I am right, I am correct, but I know it's not. So I have to frame my question in a different way, because they think, oh, the way you've asked the question, I have provided the correct answer, but it's not what you think is the correct answer. So sometimes you have to, create a new vibe or a new prompt.
Right,
So
yeah. So you should always
often,
check the code.
yeah, and I mean, you have to remember, it's like it's it's not some like alien intelligence. It's just combing the web and then spitting out what other people have said, other people who may not be as smart as you. So yes, it's fantastic and I love it. A great time saver to use this vibe coding, but it shouldn't replace your own brain, right? We're
Yeah,
still a lot smarter than computers.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here and answering all these questions and showing us how to like create all of this stuff.
Mhm.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah, so it's been a blast. I love talking about it, and I hope all of you are not afraid of trying vibe coding, and maybe just go on there tonight and say, make me a website that does this, and just see what it does.
Got it. Yeah, I'll do that
Okay.
for my crawfish enthusiasm.
You call it crawfish. That's interesting.
Crawfish? Wait, what did you call it? I thought you
The
said crawfish.
crayfish.
Crayfish. Oh,
Well, they call it
interesting.
crawfish in Louisiana.
I guess I know where I'm from then.
Yeah, you're
Uh,
a Southern girl.
or of course.
Okay. Well, thanks very much for having me. Have a wonderful, what day is it? Sunday.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for the
Goodbye.
engaging presentation. Have a good one.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, so thank you to Mr. Hull for that engaging and practical presentation. I actually really enjoyed learning about the coding and how it can be used to build the sit-in science apps without any programming experience. But to end the conference, thank you all so much for joining us today. It's been such an inspiring afternoon, from Darwin's story about founding the reptile map to Dr. Barley's insights on how technology is transforming herpetology, and also SiteTrack's incredible work connecting youth and AI for conservation, and of course, Mr. Hull's hands-on like workshop with citizen science, and it really showed how collaboration and innovation can come together to protect biodiversity. And on behalf of the Reptile Map and the 2025 Summit, thank you again for being part of this and for continuing to support reptile conservation. And we hope to see you all next year.
Right. Thank you guys. We really appreciate it and stay interested. I think we can just end the webinar now.